Hey everybody, good morning. Come on, sugar. Come on. My dog's waiting for an invitation. Sometimes she just does things, and sometimes she just waits for an invitation, like a permission. Can I get on this couch? So, wow, these last couple of days have been nothing short of amazing. This last week has been nothing short of amazing. And it will continue to be nothing short of amazing because Jilly Juice will have you keep progressing and moving forward, even if you don't know it. Because sometimes sleeping and healing and just watching Netflix while you're healing on J Juice is progressing and moving forward. You don't always have to be out there producing when you're producing at 50% or 20% of your capacity. And so sometimes just staying home and drinking the J Juice and planning your healing process is the most productive thing ever for not only your community and your family, but for all of humanity. Okay? So, you know, this new generation, I would say my generation, the Gen Xers, the evolutionaries, some may call us revolutionaries, but I'm not trying to be a revolving door, so I want to change that. The evolutionaries have really set the stage for a very interesting future, of which some, yes, are fighting against, thinking it's like some kind of Orwellian thing. But I'm telling you, I deal with so many imbalanced people that I welcome Orwellian because we have reached a tipping point. I mean, we already broke the tipping point and it's now we're in a mess. I mean, this COVID-19 is like a magnifying glass showing us exactly why it is that we need an Orwellian society until we can get people balanced in the middle, not so extreme, to where it's like they don't want to give any credibility to people that don't have degrees, and then they want to give all the credibility to people that have degrees. And so nobody knows how to mix the two together. It's either or, and then you have this mass confusion, like the Tower of Babel. And so I fought that my whole life, where a degree and academics was like the above all, end all, be all, everything. And I fought it. I fought it tooth and nail. I found value in it when I started researching the things that I liked, that I took an interest in, that I saw was going to have some kind of impact in society, in even my own endeavors. I mean, just learning in college, I mean, I learned the basics in community college because I wasn't uh, that focused to go straight into a four-year college. So when I went to community college, I really focused on stupid remedial subject matters because I wasn't totally into high school and elementary school. I did have a few years of like, okay. But I really found that organizational development and leadership, and then even just self-improvement was a very wise investment, because when you learn how systems work and processes work, and you learn it from a computer background, like a computer standpoint, like IT infrastructure library, like business process re-engineering, engineering, and you learn it from, like Microsoft's point of view, as well as just an overall organizational point of view, that is translatable to the human body, as well as any organization, any industry, everything, even in the different classifications, in biodiversity. So college is for people who want to hone in on specific things. And there's no way any kid at a really young age, unless they've been guided so carefully and all the the stars are aligned, is going to know exactly what they want. They're going to be changing majors and changing their interests like over and over and over again. And you almost have to go into the real world to figure out how the world works. So that was my background. It's like the school of hard knocks, making massive mistakes and then owning up to them, recovering, learning, and then moving forward, and then chalk it up to experience. And so And so anyways, that kind of learning process is not revered in the old world, in the very academically constricted climate of some of these belief systems out there that revere doctors and PhDs and degreed people. Now, I'm not saying that they don't have value. Of course, they have value because they are learning the foundations and the basics, and they say they want their students to be revolutionary, evolutionary, only if they work within a very, very limited capacity and regurgitate and maybe change a little bit of the model, but the outcome will always be the same. And there is no way that if I were to stay in academic institutions that we would have had Jilly Juice and created it and did our own peer review. And so and then that's the tough thing when you're fighting against the old world and then you're trying to create a new world. And then, yes, being part of the conspiracy world, because I was reading my Wikipedia description last night, which I was really surprised to see, because I remember going and looking and Googling Jilly Juice, and all I see was like Rational Wiki, which they were just slamming me, or WikiHow or something, not WikiHow, but Rational Wiki, which is like horrific. And then all the other, blog sites and YouTube. And so when I read the actual Wikipedia, I was like, holy crap. Because it wasn't even that I was looking for myself. I was just playing with my Google, talk to text type, not talk to text, but I was asking questions to Google as if it was like Siri or Alexa, because I don't have Siri or Alexa. All I have is Google on my phone. And so I was just kind of playing with it, seeing just the capabilities. And then when I asked Google, what is Jilly Juice? It was like, there it was. And it wasn't even a very, it wasn't a negative, horrific type of description like I've seen where when you say, what is Jilly Juice? And all you see is Jeff Holiday bullshit come up. I'm like, geez. So when I saw that specific heading where it was pretty neutral, though when you actually read it, it does recount all the painful events, the growth process, okay? But it really gave people insight of how Jilly Juice was born. And then in June, you're going to see the evolution. So that Wikipedia is a live document. And I was trying to actually do corrections on it last night. Obviously I'm biased, conflict of interest. Myself or any of you that have a conflict, that have an investment in Jilly Juice, I mean, you could probably go and change things around a little bit so it doesn't look like it's completely talking out of its ass. But if somehow, I mean, I'm not paying anybody to do that, but it has to be very organic, and it has to be from something that doesn't have any investment in J Juice in any way, shape, or form. So I was, so the moderators were moderating my corrections, and they're like, you have a conflict of interest. You need to chill out. So I made I think I saw one change stuck, which was the white salt, not the pink Himalayan salt. But I was trying to add in my 2 cents in different places on it last night, and it stuck for a minute. And then the moderators were like, "Okay, no, you can't do this." So I get it. I mean, I'm gonna have to wait for somebody else to filter their perceptions of J Juice through them, and then they write it as an independent contributor with absolutely no biases. And I didn't see too many biases. I mean, it still sucks to see them recounting just asinine things like the salt and the Jilly Juice create hypertension. No, hypertension and high blood pressure comes from a hormonal imbalance because a person isn't drinking enough water. If a person drank enough water, they wouldn't have as many hypertension or high blood pressure issues. Okay, the reason why people have high blood pressure is because the body is now trying to retain water. And actually, salt is the body's insurance policy. Okay, but these doctors or these university professors that they were quoting Newsweek and Daily Mail and BuzzFeed were just jumping on the bandwagon so they can get their name out there. But now their name is indelible permanently as being the most asinine quotes ever. And history is only going to reveal how ignorant, when you think about it, the medical community is. But hey, you know what? They wanted to, put their little 2 cents in there. That's fine. But now Dr. Phil and Dr. Yaudim and all those quoted doctors in Newsweek are going to look like an ass in the future. And it'll forever be there. And science eventually will catch up to my thought process, because everything I have talked about and made some claims has been substantiated in some way. Now, are we going to see it in a lab where someone has watched someone for like 10 years and they had a missing arm, and they go through the Jilly Juice process and they watch them regrow the arm in like 5 or 10 years, or how long it's going to take? Obviously not. We don't have that kind of capability. And even if I did have that capability, there are ethics and morals that would have to, would have to be questioned if you were going to put someone under that kind of experimentation. So this would all have to be a voluntary thing. And when it comes to voluntary stuff, it's hard to substantiate unless you go back and look at someone's Facebook and they have already established their credibility in the community that they're missing an arm, and they went on Jilly Juice and they regrew their arm in like 5 or 10 years after going through other healing processes the body had to go through. So, you're not going to find the proof unless you take this on yourself and you have already an audience prior to Jilly Juice and they know who you are. And that's hard on Facebook, because people can create their personas for a long period of time with an intention that down the road they're going to say this or that. I mean, that sounds really far-fetched and conspiracy-like, but nothing is impossible. Nothing is out of the realm of a possibility. Everything is potentially could be. So that's why you really can't talk somebody into this. They have to understand the science. And to say that salt poisoning is an actual thing, that just shows the ignorance of not only some of the medical community, but also their followers. Okay, because air and water are nature's powerful dilution force. And of course, they ignored the chemistry behind Jilly Juice. Okay, and so when you only focus on one component out of a chemical process, you're talking out of your ass. But that's the people that I deal with. That is why we have COVID-19 being such an epidemic, because we have so many people who are so calcified that they can't possibly take on any new information. So that's why we as Jilly Juicers don't convince anybody. Either you get it or you don't. And sometimes there are some people in your world that you may have had issues with, and the COVID-19 just magnifies that you've never resolved the undercurrents. So that's what I had to deal with the last couple of days, was that, I tried to force a relationship and it was very one-sided, and it finally didn't work anymore because, I was able to prove myself without going through a very, somebody else's imposed belief system of what success was. Okay. And so, and that's why, I've also questioned the whole thing with motherhood and reproduction, because I can't for the life of me think of why would a mother or anyone that bears a child want to destroy their body, mind, and spirit in any way, shape, or form. And there are mothers that do that out there, that will try to destroy their own child's spirit. And I'm just like, where does that come from? And I see it because, I'm not saying it's across the board, but I would say that if a mother isn't very well balanced, she will go to one on each side of the extreme. And so, whatever. And so, my successes are not exactly looked upon as anything to be proud of in some people's world. And that's when you have to reevaluate. And that's why the COVID-19 is so amazing, because it's going to bring to surface the things that people don't talk about. That eventually the truth, no matter what it is going to come to surface with COVID-19. And when you're on the Jilly Juice, there's no way you're going to skirt around any stupid issue out there, because it's going to come to surface. You're going to be forced to deal with your family, your friends. You're going to be forced to deal with being alone and reevaluating why it is that you're always out there distracting yourself from your life. And now you have to deal with yourself You're forced to now see how your pet is going to be affected by the environment, and how much do you give, how much respect do you give to your pet, okay, so they don't die in this type of environment. I mean, the COVID is probably the most amazing evolutionary leap that some people don't even realize, the power of this COVID. I mean, seriously, it is very powerful. And so I definitely grew up this last couple of days, and I finally became an equal, and that's unheard of in some of the relationships I have, is to be an actual equal, and that's difficult. So for some people to accept that someone they always look down upon is actually their equal, and you don't have to have a degree to be equal. And so anyways, it was definitely, something that I had to deal with the last couple of days. And it is what it is. I mean, I'm not exactly happy with the outcome, but I think it was a long time coming. And I'm okay with it, and I've come to terms, and I'm at peace with my decision in that relationship. But I'll tell you what, I tried 1,000%. I try 1,000,000% in all of my relationships. But sometimes people give back bullshit to you. They will blow smoke up your ass. They will say one thing and do another. They'll say things because they can get you to do something that they want you to do, or you fit nicely within a certain, perception of how they see you, until you challenge their perceptions or challenge their intentions. And then you're able to use the arguments they used to push you down right back on them. And that's a hard thing, is having somebody use your own argument on you. So that's why I always kind of like say one thing, and then sometimes I'll pull back and be like, okay, I understand there's a balance. Everything has a balance. Anytime you take a very hard position, you're going to see that you're going to have to reverse it or find a balance somewhere in between. And then always revert to the law. With the law of life, the law of death, and anything in between is just nonsense, bullshit, distraction. And so it's hard not to have a position, but when you do, you better understand that you can reverse that position or come to a middle ground. Okay? Like the whole thing with Bill Gates. I used to hate him and the whole vaccines. He's not a medically licensed doctor. Well, neither is Dr. Phil, but everybody listens to him. Okay, they all take cues from medical doctors, but then medical doctors have also caused us to be in this situation to begin with too. So it's like, so now it comes down to the law of life and the law of death. Forget your degrees, forget your foundations and all your connections. Now are we following the laws of life and the laws of death? And so then all the superfluous, frivolous crap that we used to hold, so dear and revere, is now gone to the wayside. It's just empty promises when you think about it. And so that's a lot of the revelation on J Juice, is that, when you take a position, you may have to reverse that position. Just like with we're being a Republican, and people think that Republican means that we don't have any socialism. No, Republican is socialism and capitalism. We can't just let our infrastructure go and just be, what is it? Everyone independent and go and kill their own food. We have to have an infrastructure. We have to. We got to give some net for the disabled and the people that can't really fight for themselves. But then we also have to know who is milking the system and who needs to be, forced to go out there and work because they've been so lazy their whole life. But then, when someone's lazy, maybe they're not lazy, maybe they're sick. And what do we need to do to remedy, but what do we need to do to give people a very viable option where they don't have to be sick? But that is also a moral and a freedom thing and a ethical thing. And so the government has to be very careful how not to force certain or impose certain things on the population. So it's always that dance that the government and the Jilly Juicers have to take, and it's a very interesting dance. You dance this way and oh my God, and then you dance this way and oh my God. So it's just like, it's a dance. So it's interesting. So, I mean, yeah, the Wikipedia, Oh God. Yeah, it was definitely a reminder, but it's definitely a live document. And June 2020, when my new book comes out, hopefully someone who is well written and well versed on the J Juice can go and contribute as a neutral party. Not anyone within my inner circle, not anyone that I work with actively, but someone who is a neutral party that can take my information without spinning it to their agenda. And I think that's what the current Wikipedia now around Jilly Juice did, is they recounted those painful events. But it's still old information. However, now with this new information, there's no strict diet. I'm not anti-vax. And it's white salt, not pink salt. And of course, Jilly Juice does not create hypertension or high blood pressure. It's hormonal imbalances that do that. And people who are dehydrated, people who are who don't drink enough water, have created their high blood pressure, or they have just major imbalances. And so, so those, in time, all of that will come to surface, and there will be somebody who is a neutral party that has no conflict of interest be able to write about Jilly Juice in the most respectful, scientific way. Okay? Because you don't have to be trained in science and medicine to understand how to read peer-reviewed journals or take information, extrapolate it, and have your own conclusion. You don't need a degree to do that. You just need to have some kind of common sense, know your basics, how to read, how to write a little bit, and that's pretty much it. We're in the open source future. Gone is this hiding behind paywalls, which are the universities, of which I came from a very old world with that. I mean, my parents, they revered education like it's everything, and of course it is, but then there's a point. There's a point of extreme when you just revere everything about education and you don't learn how to think outside of those very narrow parameters which some of these industries offer to their students. And these students are just regurgitating, which is fine. I mean, because there are certain industries that you need to regurgitate. But there are other industries like the medical industry and other inventions out there in engineering that regurgitating the same stuff from the predecessors isn't going to get us to anywhere evolutionary. Maybe revolutionary because it's a revolving door and they're reinventing the wheel, but evolutionary is what we're looking for. And the Jilly Juice is evolutionary. It's not revolutionary. And that is the difference. So we're making history. You guys are a part of it. I appreciate it. We're making history. And you just keep drinking the J Juice and people are watching you. People are watching you. And so, when I say that I want a specific look and a specific outcome with the Jilly Juice girls and Jilly Juice boys, it's not because I'm being discriminatory. It's because that's the whole point. Youth, wisdom, and vitality is the actual point of Jilly Juice. If you don't have wisdom, if you don't have youth and vitality, where you are symmetrical, balanced in body, mind, and spirit, what are you doing? You're on a death trajectory if you're imbalanced in your body, mind, and spirit. If you are obese or if you are underweight, if you have health issues, that's not the Jilly Juice world. That's the old world. Okay? So there are specific measurable results with Jilly Juice. So it may seem very narrow to some people's eyes why I only post certain people's pictures, but they've taken the time to put makeup on and pose for a picture. And they've put themselves out there anyways for, their people and friends and family and whatever. Anything you put on social media, it's free game. Will I use their pictures on my website? No. Because, it's because unless they give me permission. But I haven't asked anyone for permission on that because it's still unsubstantiated. You don't know what people have done. People don't know people have done. However, some people have watched my people for a long time, so they kind of know who they are. They're not BSers. And people are getting benefit. But just to put a picture on my website saying that this is the before and after, anyone aside from me, there's no substantiation. It's not recorded by some independent research group that has seen the whole process. And that's, so there's a difference between why I don't do a lot of advertising on my website versus Facebook. Facebook, you have a lot more freedom. People say, oh, Facebook censors you. Oh, no, Facebook gives you so much freedom as long as you're not harming anybody else or trying to destroy your community. So that's why I went through all the legal crap. And so that's why I'm pretty savvy when it comes to legal crap. Okay? So no one can play these intimidation games with some of the games that people play, because I will meet them wherever they want me to meet them, as far as a courtroom, if that's where it needs to end up. But I don't want to go down that road. There's no point in that. The information speaks for itself. The science speaks for itself. My community speaks for themselves. And if you've been part of it and you dropped off, you ask yourself why, especially around this aggressive environment. Because now you've only put yourself way more behind the 8 ball because you haven't even adapted to the old world, much less are going to be able to adapt to this new world. And this COVID is aggressive. Like, I don't have this headache anymore. I had a headache for 6 freaking days. That was probably the most torturous upgrade that I went through since COVID has been out, since like February, March. I started feeling weird stuff February, March. My dog started feeling weird stuff in February, March. Her and I have been going through the upgrade process. My husband has been feeling it on and off. He doesn't say too much about it because he's just like this Energizer bunny. He just keeps going and going and going. My husband's a tough man. But yeah, if you're not doing the J Juice and you fell off the J Juice, you're not doing the white salt, and you're out there in the hospitals playing with your PPE thinking that's going to help you, and you already have major predispositions, I'm telling you, this virus mutates and it's going to become more aggressive. So you better smarten up if you've already been exposed to J Juice. You better smarten up and go back to my business page, look at the pinned post, get all the updates, and freaking do it, because you have nothing to lose. But I know some of you are still in the activist world, and you're putting your energy in that, arguing, where the freaking virus came from, and you're not taking care of your body, mind, or spirit, and you're utilizing all of your minerals and energy on that crap. So I'm telling you, if I hadn't eaten the meat and the food that I ate while I was healing, I would have lost like 13, 14, 15, 20 pounds. Because some of these people that have been on the COVID, like Cuomo, that guy Cuomo on CNN, he lost 13 pounds fighting the virus. Because when you're trying to upgrade and you're fighting something, the body expends energy. When the body expends energy, it's going to utilize all these resources, and it's going to steal from your hair, skin, nail, and bones, weakening your non-vital organs to then supplement or support and try to fix the issues with the vital organs, and it's not 100%. This COVID virus can take between 11 and 13 years off a person's life that's not doing J Juice relative to their predispositions. 13 freaking years. That's a whole decade. That's a whole decade of inventions and changes in the world. So some of you need to get your head out of your ass and do the J Juice. Some of you really need to do that. But some of you would rather pass away because it's your religious belief system. More power to you. But I don't subscribe to that, and neither do the hardcore Jilly Juicers. Because they have a zest for life. We want to live. We want to thrive. And we're tired of the games and the manipulations. Though we live in a world of 7 billion people who are so imbalanced, yes, we're going to have an Orwellian society, and I'm fine with it. I have nothing to hide. If you have something to hide, then you better question what it is that you're hiding and why. Good luck. Bye.